About a year ago, you wrote a piece about how capitalism needs to be reformed, focused a lot on the wealth gap, the growing wealth gap, and the problems that that's causing. So what's our opportunity here? What changes can we make?
Well, you know, what I was seeing was, do we want the outcomes that we're getting, that the system is producing? Do we have, what is our American dream? What is that? We're not even almost talking about that. When I was growing up, so again, I grew up, I was born 1949, right after the New World Order was created. New World Order was created in 1945. And I'm in 45. And that was when there was a breakdown of the system, and then we had a New World Order. We didn't have as much debt. We came back for the war, and there was an environment of equal opportunity. And that notion of equal opportunity. And there was an American dream, and there was a harmony and a going through it together. And by the way, that's not a one-off. If you read histories, you see these periods of collapse and clash and fighting, followed by these periods of, you know, you read it, construct the balance sheets, you change the system, and then you begin a new system, and you come back and you work together. And then I'm seeing around me children in school and education systems in poor neighborhoods are sharing. They don't have adequate resources. There's no excuse. And so the idea that the profit system can accomplish everything is not right, because resource allocation goes to those who have the resource. And so throughout all history, you go back hundreds of years, you see that any system works for those who tend to control the system. So let's say we have a capitalist system, and we have entrepreneurs, and you acquire money and all that, and then working with those in government, and they have a symbiotic relationship, and it works well for them. So it's self-perpetuating, because the education of those who are those is better than the education of those who aren't those. So, for example, in our system, those in the top 40% on average spend 5 times as much money on their children's education than those who are in the bottom 60%. And so it's become self-perpetuating. And so when I look at that, I'm saying, I'm a capitalist. Please understand, I'm a capitalist. I believe in the system. I believe you can increase the size of the pie, and you could divide it well. And if we talk about how to do that effectively, we need to do it. But there becomes a time that there needs reforms, and those reforms have to create productivity. It doesn't mean just give money away. It means, how do you make those people productive so that they're also psychologically productive, as well as physically productive in producing output? You need to do that system. And so for reasons I wrote on that page, that post, it's on LinkedIn if people want it, that you need to restructure it. Now we are restructuring it, okay? It's the inevitable consequence of what we're doing here. We will come out of that. There's been a tremendous transfer of wealth, whether people realize it or not, through the production of all of that borrowed money and all of that producing of money. That is a big force. We will come out of here. And the thing we will talk about over the next couple of years, and probably sooner rather than later, is how we do that restructuring. And my worry now is the same as my worry then, whether that will be done in a civil, bipartisan way that will both increase the size of the pie and divide it well, rather than damage the economy because you lose productivity. There are certain things that are great investments. Education is a great investment. The more people you have that are well educated, and you have equal education, the more people you're going to have who have a chance to compete with each other and raise that over a period of time. It's a hell of investment. It will produce more productivity than it ever will cost if it's done well. But what happens is states and localities think of it as a budget item. So they look at expenses and they penny pinch on the education, because if you're in a rich town, your kids will get a good education. And if you're not, and a large percentage of the population is losing that. So that has to be engineered well so that they're productive as well as divide the pie well, and everybody believes that the system is fair. If we can get there, am I optimistic that we will get there? I don't know. I would say I'm 60-40 pessimistic that we'll be good enough with each other to do that. But there's that possibility. This is our test. This is our stress test.